USA Ultimate is proud to present the 2015 College National Championship. Women's first semifinal today between British Columbia and Oregon, live from Eline Soccer Park in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Here is the Women's Championship bracket, Game 2. The fall at roughly 3:30 Eastern Time. Carleton College, a surprise in this tournament, versus heavyweight Stanford. Good afternoon, Jim Barber and Evan Lepler. He's the voice of Ultimate. We'll be here a long time today and deep in tonight with great action with the disc. And we should mention in this first matchup, it is a rematch between two teams that earlier in the year, BC won the game against Oregon, but there's no Mira Donaldson today for British Columbia. How significant is that?
Well, it's very significant. She's one of the best players in this sport. She was on the senior Canadian national team at age 19, and she hurt her shoulder yesterday in the final game of pool play. She's still got a smile on her face, but she won't be out there. Oregon did avenge the Northwest Challenge loss to British Columbia, beating them at sectionals and regionals. But, you know, the #1 seed, they got to be looked at as the favorite, but UBC knows they can beat Fugue. They've done it before.
And we profiled the Thunderbirds with the one lone championship back in 2008. And the leading scorer this week has been Miss Chan.
They've been looking for their second title for 7 years now, and this might be the team that can do it. 19 of the 24 girls on the team have competed on the Canadian national level. And without Donaldson, they'll be relying on #7 in the handler core, Victoria Lamb. She's not in the Great Britain national team. I imagine she traded for that jersey at one of her international experiences, but she's the calming presence in the backfield. Big flick huck. They've got depth even without Donaldson. Lamb will be leading the way.
Evan, Oregon is the favorite today. That's hardly a surprise. It has a lot to do with his experience in national championships dating back to 2 titles in 10 and 13.
I feel like we could have used the Open from last year talking about how Oregon's the favorite, because every time we've been at nationals recently, they've been the favorite. This is Oregon's 7th straight trip to the semifinals. Their Callahan nominee, Bethany Kaler, leads the stable of talent. But let me tell you about Jessie Schaffner. She may not look like the prototypical Ultimate athlete, but she is incredibly tough on the field. She's got great hands. She just plays with this fury and this energy that I love watching, and she's the emotional leader of Oregon Fugue as they look for another national title.
In a lot of ways, an endurance test, Evan, for both teams as they have played in the quarters earlier today and get set up for a huge semifinal match next on ESPN 3. The 2015 USA Ultimate College Championships are presented by Discraft Ultrastar, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Ask your retailer for Discraft Ultrastar. The Women's Sports Foundation, ensuring equality and leadership opportunities for girls and women through sports. And the Girls Ultimate Movement, a strategic initiative designed to increase girls' participation in the sport of ultimate. Moments away from our first pull, starting lineup for the University of British Columbia, the Cutters. Oh Young, who plays so strong up front and in the back. Chang, McCann, and Wong and Lamb, you highlighted moments ago, who has to come up large today.
Yeah, they'll be counting on a lot of people. They're really deep, but Lamb in the backfield will be huge.
And with Oregon in its starting lineup, you think there are 3 national profile players here, do you not?
There's no question about it. I mean, Haley Walrus was the freshman of the year last year, and then Bethany Kaler just does everything. But it's Schaffner whose sort of size defies her impact.
Lou Burris is the head coach. Let's talk about what you need to know. There are 7 players to a side. The first team to 15 will win the game. Once a team scores 8 goals, we've reached halftime. The disc may go in any direction, but the player may not run with the disc. They must pass the disc within 10 seconds. The game is self-officiating. We'll get into that because that is a rarity in sports. Teams will switch ends after each score. Well, what happened to our beautiful weather yesterday?
Nothing but sunshine the first 2 days of the tournament, and nothing but clouds on this Sunday of Memorial Day weekend.
Today, 63 degrees. Yesterday, close to 80.
This is not terrible ultimate weather, but one thing to watch is how players dry off the disc and whether they slip on the turf that's not soaked, but it's damp.
All right, as the Thunderbirds go on offense back in their own zone, will they play differently because of the weather?
I think they'll probably be a little bit more careful, and they have to just be aware that when the disc hits the ground, you got to use your jersey, if that's still dry, to try to get some of that condensation. The grip on the flick is what is affected the most by the condensation on the disc.
Lamb is already handled. She's number 7. British Columbia was in a 5-5 tie today. Earlier with Virginia, scored 5 consecutive goals and ran away with it. Now we have our first turnover.
It's hard to explain what Oregon does defensively because they aim to confuse, and they've confused me over these last few years, but they confuse their opponents too. They just play this sort of amorphous man zone, and it really disrupts what the other team's trying to do.
Got to have some smart players out there, not only with what they are able to command with the game, but their history of the game, because they're able to, as you mentioned, disrupt things and really make it difficult for the opposition.
On the strategic foundation of what Oregon does is Lou Burris. I mean, he is one of the top thinkers in the sport, and he has led this Oregon's team since 2007. They've been the perennial favorites at nationals, and they've already got a break here in the semis.
They score with the first goal of the game, and it didn't take long. Off the pass from Ashley Young. Will thread the needle to 25. Foley Galvin.
Yeah, different players have stepped up this year for Fugue. Foley Galvin is one of them. Not a key contributor the last couple of years. Of course, Oregon won the title 2 years ago. Last year, getting knocked off by the ladies of Ohio State Fever in the championship game. Foley Galvin, a junior, and Oregon's done a great job of replenishing its talent. The story for British Columbia, aside from Lamb, who's in her 5th year, one of the oldest players on the team, this is by and large a very young Thunderbird squad. So chatting before the game with head coach Tasia Balding, they're building for the future. You know, they think they could do something right now, but this is a program that's on the rise, and you know, the Vancouver youth scene has just exploded in the way they prepare players and get players involved in Ultimate at a young age, very similar to Seattle.
Past champions, Ohio State upset the Western Dominants last year after a decade run of Northwest championships. And Cassie Swafford will be nice to come up to our booth a little later today. By the way, we've got the men's royalty in the back of us who just flew in from the West Coast, do we not?
The Callahan winners of 2014 are both in the house. Jimmy Mickle took the red eye from Southern California last night. Cassie Swafford has been here supporting Ohio State all weekend.
I've looked at Jimmy. He doesn't show any of the effects of a red-eye flight. It looks like he's refreshed and ready to go here.
He's battling adrenaline right now, I can guarantee you.
1-0 Oregon, scoring early and off the switch of sides right now. University of British Columbia on the attack at the red zone. How about the defense of Oregon right here?
Oh, they're just trying to create traffic in that front corner. A smart move to get the disc back to Lamb.
Lamb with the 3 assists earlier today. Again, no Mira Donaldson out with a separated shoulder. Opportunity, and we have a tie game as they score.
Yeah, there's probably no more important downfield cutter for UBC than Victoria McCann. She's not going to replace Mira Donaldson because that's impossible. But as a taller downfield cutter that can help initiate plays, and you'll see McCann huck it from time to time as well. And in their quarterfinal game against Virginia, that was a role that she evolved into. And it's an interesting battle of attrition, Jim, here at Nationals. In the quarterfinal today, I had a Virginia team that was certainly the favorite coming into that game, the 5th seed overall, but they knocked off Colorado. Alika Johnston, one of the best players in the nation. She may win the Callahan later today. She's one of the 5 finalists, and Virginia, unfortunately, had to deal with food poisoning. It hit their team. They had 6 relatively key players that did not play this morning. So UBC is not the only team that has, had to deal with injuries and loss of key players.
All right, Evan, you mentioned the road to the semis. Pool play action for the Thunderbirds. They were 3-1. That's good for 2nd place. Beat Ohio State in the 1st round, and Virginia in the quarters earlier today, 15-9, and did a nice job after Virginia scored on 3 consecutive red zone opportunities in the first half, shutting them down.
Yeah, their only loss in pool play came to Carleton. Sort of fell apart after losing Donaldson in the second half of what was a close game. Carleton advancing into the semifinals as well, winning that pool as UCLA got off to a good start, the 3rd overall seed coming into the tournament, but the ladies of blue fell short, falling to
Texas, the 5 seed in the pool. First time that's happened since Nationals expanded to 20 teams. The 5 seed beating a 1 seed in pool play. And UCLA, in a very surprising development, did not make it into pre-quarters.
Here's the Fugue on offense. That's Alex Odie, number 7.
Yeah, Odie's just so steady, has been for years. And there's Walrus. Last year she didn't look like a freshman, but Schaffner turns it over.
And for a British Columbia team that's going to need as much help as it can get, early opportunities and a chance to break Oregon, I think, would be pretty key.
Yeah, one thing Oregon is not afraid to do is turn the disc over. Folks like to say as Schaffner lays out for the great catch.
And scores! Jesse Schaffner. Deep in the left corner, puts Oregon back up front 2-1, and British Columbia turned the disc over just as quickly as it had gotten it back.
You watch Jesse Schaffner play, and one word comes to mind, it's toughness. Now, Oregon, their MO is strike quickly. With Walrus picking up the disc, she'll often find Schaffner in the end zone. And Jesse Schaffner over and over again makes catches that just make you say, wow. Look at that.
Laying out with the right hand, our view from the end zone, and one of the best in the world, Jesse Schaffner and Oregon. Back on top early here in the first half of one of our national semifinals.
That last shot of her completely parallel to the ground, totally horizontal. I think that's SportsCenter top 10 worthy. Jesse Schaffner is not a stranger to plays like this, but she gets horizontal and got the back body, the thighs inbounds first, right near the sideline. That will not be the last top 10 worthy play of the day, I promise you.
Oh no, this is just the first of many. Schaffner, you may be aware, from Nashville, Tennessee.
Comes from a great Ultimate family. Her older brother Markham won a Division III national championship with Claremont College, the Brain Eaters.
Just some great nicknames here, don't you think? We could run them all down here and have a conversation going on for most of the afternoon. So the Fugue now on defense with a 2-1 lead, and across midfield here come the Thunderbirds, and have got a chance to score, and they score! Haylin Chang ties it at 2.
And that's the flick huck that we talked about with Victoria Lamb. The Oregon defender deep in the corner fell asleep and let Chang get a few steps past her. And this is just great vision. Fake the backhand, sees the defender fall asleep, and Oregon had no chance. That's the shot that UBC needs to connect on if they're going to hang in this game, because pound for pound, Oregon probably has more talent. They're the #1 seed for a reason. They only lost twice in the regular season, and Oregon got the better of UBC both at Cascadia Sectionals and at Northwest Regionals. But plays like that, UBC, it's funny, Jim, before the game today, they sort of remarked on Twitter that they're living the plot of a sports movie right now.
Living a dream.
You know, Mira Donaldson, the star player, goes down. They battled to beat a Virginia team anyway. And now here against the #1 seed, the team that knocked them off in regionals. Wouldn't it be something for the Thunderbirds of UBC?
Victoria Lamb, whom we highlighted at the beginning of our broadcast. Again, no Mira Donaldson due to a separated shoulder. And as we get the pull here onto the Oregon side, we restart playing a 2-2 tie. How important is it for the University of British Columbia to hang around in the first half?
Yeah, you don't want to fall behind against Oregon because they can strike fast. Folks often say that Lou Burris wants his team to score in as few throws as possible. I was chatting with one of the assistant coaches, Danielle Hirsch, before the game, and she said it was going to be important to try to grind out some points. Falling down, she let it go, and it's still right on the money.
And they score again, and Oregon's offense is in gear so far in the first half. It is now 3-2, and this time it's Alex Odie on the scoring end.
You know how the best basketball players can shoot off balance and it still looks perfect? You know, if you're a youth coach, you say, get your balance before you throw. Get your balance before you shoot, whether it's a free throw or a three-pointer. But right here, Oregon works it down the field. Little quick give and go, and then Schaffner. The nice step out to the backhand side and a perfect put.
Rachel Hershey, let's correct the scoring on that. And Oregon regains the lead for the third time today, 3-2.
Oregon up one break. The defensive Fugue scored on the first point of the game. Both these teams rely on local talent. A lot of Oregonians on Fugue and almost all Vancouver natives on UBC with just a few exceptions.
Think about how good Oregon's athletic programs are, even though this particular sport is a club sport, not NCAA sanctioned. The fact is, from the University of Oregon, you can go right down the list of great sports teams and club teams, and this group is no exception. In the lead 3-2, but back come the Thunderbirds, and they score! And we're tied at 3.
That's a dose of Oregon's medicine right there.
Lisa Wong, number 48, evens the score at 3, and they're going back and forth here in the first half of our national semifinal.
Now you talk to the Thunderbirds and they'll say Lisa Wong is one of our most underrated pieces. She deserves some credit, and it's because of her speed. She faked in, went deep, timed the cut perfectly, and a gorgeous put from Judith Yo.
And Oregon's defenders have been beaten twice and beaten badly so far in the first half.
Yeah, I think Lou Burris probably wanted UBC to prove that they could make that shot without Donaldson. Clearly they've done that. So if you're Fugue, you got to make an adjustment and be ready for that deep shot, because the Thunderbirds clearly have proven their willingness to launch.
Already in the first half, 3 ties at 1, 2, and 3 goals.
And for British Columbia, there are 2 keys coming into the game. Number 1, try to contain Jessie Schaffner, which is tough to do. One of those players that you can't really hope to stop, but you just try to contain her. And the other thing that they talked about, using the junk defense to try to interrupt Oregon's ISO offense.
All right, what do you mean by a junk defense here?
Well, it's a defense that sort of flexes into man and involves a lot of poaching with players differently switching to try to clog lanes, something that teams will do early in a point to try to prevent what they're trying to do in the initiation. You see they're trying to isolate Jessie Schaffner, but it was defended well on the near sideline by Naomi Morsilla.
And Morsilla was a key player in the quarters earlier today, and she is shadowing Schaffner wherever she goes on the far side of the field. 3-3 tie in the first half. Walrus handling right now. Haley Walrus already has an assist in this first half. Here's a flick to the end zone, opportunity to go ahead. And we come back the other way. Good scoring opportunity by the wayside.
And it was Naomi Johnson, I believe, in the end zone who got a piece of it for UBC.
Intended for Molly Lanning.
And there were 2 Fugue players there. Missed it on the first try, but another opportunity to swat it down.
You know, in a game of football, if you have 2 receivers in the same zone, that's not a good idea. What about here?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're trying to create space for one person to make the cut. I think Jessie Schaffner might have been intending that throw for the near target and actually turned over. She was looking for the inside-out flick. It turned over, but again, Schaffner just makes up for her mistakes so fast. It's unbelievable. She's one of those players that as soon as she turns it over, like this radar goes off in her mind, and she just becomes determined to get the disc back in her hands. That's a sign of greatness.
All right, I'll get it right this time. This time Alex Odie scores, and it is now 4-3 Oregon off the turnover. And how quickly did Fugue score?
Yeah, that's why, you know, that's a poach right there. That's the type of defense, because you saw Schaffner chasing her UBC guard across the screen. She let her go, read the handler's vision, and just like a safety watching the quarterback's eyes, Schaffner broke in and broke away.
Assist to Molly Lanning, 4-3 Oregon with his 4th lead of the first half.
Yeah, still up 1 break. Oregon really took care of business in its quarterfinal today against Dartmouth, which wasn't a huge surprise. Dartmouth played pretty good over the course of the weekend, but struggled against Stanford and struggled against Oregon. I think the consensus here in Milwaukee is that the top 2 seeds coming into the weekend have played the best of any of the 20 women's teams that are here. Doesn't mean they'll meet in the finals tomorrow, but they're certainly the favorites to do so.
As you saw by the graphic, 4 different Oregon Fugue players have scored. Let's see if British Columbia can answer the last score after the turnover that resulted in the 4th goal. You see Victoria Lamb trying to get back to the disc, and instead up to midfield, it's turned over.
Oregon still was really guarding the underneath and giving UBC the deep cuts, but so far from the end zone, about 60 yards away, it would have been too far of a deep shot in that instance.
Foley Galvin had it moments ago, and this one broke it up.
Hard to tell from here. My gut was that was a clean hand block, but we'll see what the observer says.
Observer ruling was a foul.
Yep.
Okay.
This is a self-officiated game, but the observers play a key role in settling any type of arguments or disputes. Hammaker is the head, Thibodeau, and the other 2 observers that you saw moments ago will help regulate this game, and now it comes back to British Columbia and the disc in their hands. That's Jessica Chung on the near side. Across midfield to Alan O'Young. O'Young had a solid game earlier today. It's been quiet so far, though.
Now, you watched a good chunk of that UBC Virginia game. There was 8 quarterfinals going on at the same time. Tough to see them all, but you saw British Columbia break away. What was the key to them breaking away in that game?
I thought the biggest thing is they stopped the red zone scoring. It looked as if Virginia was going to score at will, much like Oregon can. And after the 3 consecutive scores, they shut them down with a change in defense. And so British Columbia, needing to get a 4th score, does exactly that. It's Lisa Wong, and we are even again in this game.
I haven't seen too many teams, maybe with the exception of Ohio State last year, shred Oregon's defense like this. And this offense is basically small ball, a byproduct of the cohesive unit that UBC has put together. You know, they have all grown up playing together. They've played on national teams together, U19, U23. And that familiarity breeds comfort. And you saw right there, Oregon's defense was basically non-existent. That was offensive flow, impervious to the defense into the end zone.
They have beaten Oregon twice deep. Now they beat them a little of the small ball. So what is British Columbia exposing here in the first half?
Well, I think, you know, Oregon's greatness has never been its man-to-man defense solely. It's been their ability to make big plays offensively and to create chaos. But teams that are mature and calm and take care of the disc and occasionally have that deep shot make them very, very vulnerable.
Fugue with the disc trying to regain the lead for what would be the 5th time in the first half. Not much separation between either team so far. And this one intercepted.
Amy Lua didn't haul it in, but she knocked it down, and now she's going deep.
Try to give them their first lead of the game, but a little bit too far, and so that turns it back to Oregon. But you think about how good Oregon's been over the years, and you mentioned earlier, 7 national semifinal appearances in a row. So for British Columbia to stay close in the first half or get the advantage could be large.
Yeah. Oregon has been here before. They played a classic semifinal last year that went to Universe Point against Central Florida, the Sirens. That's a beautiful cross-field throw. Great vision from Walrus. Nothing was open on the near side, but she knew that would be the empty pocket of the zone, and it was the first throw that opened up this entire offensive flurry.
Great grab by Schaffner into the end zone and taken away. And British Columbia back with the defense that was needed.
What a grab.
Keeping the possession very much alive, defended by Olivia Bartroff. Oregon 4 and the University of British Columbia 4 in the first half. Stanford Carleton to follow. Caught! First lead of the game, British Columbia. What a play!
Naomi Morcilla, usually known for her defense, in part because of her speed, and she used that speed to run around the Oregon player who didn't think that there was any chance this would not be Deed. Slightly circuitous route taken by Olivia Bartruff, and she paid the price.
And the book on Morcilla is in one-on-one activity, maybe nobody better.
Yeah, I mean, the speed is what separates her. The closing speed on the disc, and to make that one-handed grab. I gotta say, I could not be more impressed with how UBC has come out in this game.
I agree.
Especially after getting broken on the first point, because as a UBC fan, you're probably a little nervous when that happens, but they forced Lou Burris to blink first, and Oregon has taken a timeout here.
UBC with his first lead. Let's go back to the injury, the separated shoulder to Mira Donaldson. Sometimes you can play without your best player and play on adrenaline for a while, but that's been removed now. You played more than a game without Donaldson, and yet you haven't blinked so far against arguably the best team in the country.
It is amazing. They are a team that has depth, so they don't completely rely on Donaldson. Like if Virginia lost Alika Johnston, she touches the disc basically every time in the handler set. But Donaldson is the generational type talent that UBC has, a premier thrower. She's been on, Canadian All-Star team at all different levels, and she's still young. She's just 21. Her bone, she said, was out of the socket for close to 2 hours, so she needs to see a bone specialist. And she was all smiles when I chatted with her today. I asked her, did it hurt? She said, oh yeah. She was in a lot of pain. But thankfully all smiles today, and her team's playing well without her.
You were down on this very field yesterday, and I know you're modest about these things, but I heard the fans chanting Evan Lepler, and you gave him the nice celebrity wave, and so I know this place is special for you.
Well, I appreciate the support from everybody. It has been an incredible experience to be in the booth with great broadcasters like yourself, and I remember every time I come to the U.S. National Championships, whether it's college or club, how great the ultimate community is, and just spending Friday and Saturday walking around the fields and seeing familiar faces, players, coaches, fans, observers, USA Ultimate staffers. And you catch up, you talk about the ultimate, and there's just so much great action going on, because in ultimate you have layouts like that every other throw almost.
Schaffner's had a couple of good layouts here in the first half as the possession continues. Odie to the corner, and we're tied at 5 in the hands of, well, who else? Jessie Schaffner.
The only player on the field that can stop Jessie Schaffner is Jessie Schaffner. And we've seen some rushed decisions, rushed throws, but she has this athleticism about her that, again, just defies explanation. And her motor is incalculable. You saw the in-cut. She doesn't get the disc, so she breaks out. And a beautiful put from Alex Odie, the veteran.
Yeah, what a great cutter in terms of she already made the layout here toward midfield and knows exactly where to run to a spot.
It's a game of space. If you make an in-cut, you don't have the disc cut out, because that's how you tire out your defender.
This is a very good first national semifinal so far.
No question about it. Naomi Johnson had great size on Schaffner, but obviously Schaffner has the speed advantage.
In this game alone, Schaffner with 2 goals and an assist. We're tied for the 5th time today at 5.
Now, you and I have been talking the past couple of days about how ultimate has evolved. 10 years ago, you didn't see too many females with eye black or war paint or whatever you call that.
I didn't know that.
I mean, it's not even sunny outside, so that's purely for the aesthetic appearance.
Yes, it's intimidating, right? That's the idea.
I think I should throw on some eye black for the second semifinal.
You can't improve perfection, right?
Yeah, we're far from that.
White uniforms belong to the University of British Columbia, looking for the lead once again, and broken up in the end zone.
Well done by Caitlin Brunick. second year on Fugue, and she read that perfectly.
Schaffner reaching high and out of bounds. Had a foot in, though, made the catch.
The observer with the active in or out call said she was in. We get the benefit of an instant replay.
Have to have 1 foot in, right? We think.
First point of contact. I think she got that toe tapped in. Yeah, no question about it.
So Oregon retains possession on another fine play by Jessie Schaffner.
Do we have someone counting the number of fine plays by Jessie Schaffner?
I've got 3, but that's unofficial.
Yeah, I think it's 4 or 5.
And you can't keep your eyes off number 2 because she is constantly in motion and running into a spot where she gets an opportunity to score. Right now she's on the far side of the field being shadowed. A 5-5 tie in a game that's seen 5 ties. We're looking at man-to-man here.
Now man-to-man defense. That's an open side shot for the score.
Olivia Bartra puts Oregon back up front, 6-5. At this pace, can British Columbia hang around?
So far, they've done nothing to prove that they can't. I mean, this is the type of game that they're used to playing. These two teams are so familiar with each other. You know, not just playing at the Northwest Challenge when UBC got the better of Fugue, but throughout the season, a season that largely Oregon dominated, but they're not invincible.
The 5th different Oregon player to score, and after trailing briefly at 5-4, Fugue back up 6-5.
She hasn't dominated the stat sheet yet, but Haley Walrus's presence as sort of the Victoria Lamb for Oregon has been very important. Victoria Lamb for UBC. Walrus so calm in the handler core, and you know, she's basically taken on that Sophie Darch role of last year. Sophie, their Callahan nominee, could throw it the full 70 yards of the field. She's on the sidelines supporting her alma mater.
All right, this turf of 70 yards in length and 40 yards width has been hit by rain today. Nothing monsoon-like. Have you seen anything to indicate that's a factor?
So far, so good. I don't think players have had to deal with the wet turf as an adversary all that much through the first 11 points.
Thunderbirds with the disc. Back in a deficit, 6-5. First 1-8. We reach halftime. And we're on a quick pace so far.
Nice job attacking the disc right there. British Columbia's Ellen O'Young. That was a long throw. The Oregon wing thought she was going to make a play on it, but O'Young went to the disc, and O'Young, a first-year freshman.
Traveling was called, so they moved the disc back. But the observer now has stepped in and waved off the initial call of travel.
It's not a timeout. Let's get it started. It is not a timeout. Please tap in the disc.
That's Naomi Johnson, 32. Earlier in the season, British Columbia beat Oregon. That was, though, with Mara Donaldson. Here in the first half, they have scored 5 times but trail 6-5. Against an Oregon team that books the national semifinals a year in advance, it seems.
A couple of years in advance lately. I mean, it's hard to explain how difficult it is to remain that good for that long. 50-50. Oh, what a grab!
And caught! There's a Sports Center play. Victoria McCann, sensational play.
Now, she's listed at 5'7", but she looks taller than that, doesn't she?
Oh, yeah.
Let's watch McCann size this one up. Odie had it lined up, but McCann attacked it quicker.
And Lisa Wong was the other official over there, or the other observer, with her hands up in the air to indicate a score.
She was there for any deflection, but that's a remarkable play.
So we're even at 6.
That's pretty good ups right there from McCann.
Oh, yeah.
Odie's got an inch on her height-wise, but the elevation.
Victoria McCann is a sophomore from Vancouver.
And that was a really important point in my eyes. You're down 6-5, you're down a break. This Oregon team, you know, certainly if they go to half 8-5, it feels way different than 8-6,
Sure.
especially considering that Oregon will receive the disc to start the second half. Now I think if you're British Columbia, you know, even if Oregon goes on a little run right here, you'll be in pretty good shape in the second half to sport one of your own.
Yeah, but no more than a goal separation here in the first half between these two national semifinalists. Carleton College and Stanford to follow at 3:30 Eastern Time, 2:30 Central, and 12:30 in the West.
Little miscommunication right there. Schaffner's high release flick to the turf.
5 Oregon turnovers first half, 5 for UBC. And another opportunity for the Thunderbirds to regain the advantage. The only one they've held at 5-4, but they quickly turn it over.
Well, after Oregon gives it up, British Columbia might want to try to attack someone other than the girl that Jesse Schaffner's guarding.
They got a man advantage right here, but couldn't pick it up. Now an easy toss to the end zone, well done. And in fact, the way they're able to shred the defense right now, any kind of turnover results in a goal, and Jesse Schaffner has scored again.
When we see the replay here, you'll see a very mature cutter. You know, they found the opening. That's Olivia Bartroff. She didn't have an angle for Schaffner the first time, but then the quick swing, and then Schaffner timed her cut with the swing perfectly. You know, if she had cut too soon, there wouldn't have been the space to throw. But the defender had to respect her ability to go cross field for the outside in flick. Much easier to throw the backhand. Schaffner's made that cut to the front cone about 10 million times.
Yeah, and she has been part of the 7 goals 4 times with 3 scores and an assist in just the first half. Let's see what type of answer off the pull that the Thunderbirds will have as we're about set to reach halftime.
Before play began on Friday morning, as the fans enjoying the conditions here despite the weather, but
they're dressed differently today, don't you think?
Yeah, it's not as sunny as the past 2 days, but I was chatting with Lou Burris before the team's first game and just asking him about the season and, you know, what has caught his eye. And he's always been confident in his team. He knows they're talented. He knows they're good. And he said, Jesse Schaffner has taken such a huge step forward, which is hard to believe because she was really good last year.
Haley Walrus disrupts the play, and Oregon's got a chance to send this to halftime. In the hands of Alex Odie.
And I think Odie called a timeout. The question here is what the stall count will be when the game resumes.
Oregon gets, as does British Columbia, 2 first-half timeouts. They've exhausted both of them.
It's a little fast.
In that conversation with Lou Burris, who brought 2 pairs of those green pants to nationals, he's always prepared.
That's a cool look, isn't it?
I asked him which team is the biggest threat to Fugue, and he said whichever team we don't take seriously. Basically implying that if we come with a focus and an intensity that we need in every game, we should be in pretty good shape. And I think they've proven that in nationals past and again in 2015.
We'll speak to Lou and Tassia Balding at the break to get the coach's impression, and I think the bow tie is it.
Yeah, he's a sharply dressed man.
Play resumes. The disc is in the hands of Oregon, trying to reach halftime.
A great player for Seattle Sockeye for many, many years. Played defense with great intensity, won some national championships. He played college ultimate at Carleton. He's been to college nationals many, many, many times.
Possibility of an Oregon-Carleton final, although Stanford will be the favorite in Game 2 later this afternoon.
The final 2 years ago, Oregon versus Carleton.
Yes.
Very different Carleton team
I
than 2
thought
years
you
ago.
couldn't after you
Few of
called
the
the timer.
similar pieces, but
You can't immediately after.
Well, that's until now to call it.
they're still discussing when the stall count
Don't call it. Just go here.
will
So
resume.
you didn't.
No, you're
Like
like,
I said, I want to warn you about fast count.
She's, I want to tell you that I think you're fast
Hold on a
counting,
second.
but I'm not calling it. Those are exact words.
Okay.
Here's what observers do. They
Uh,
track time limits. They resolve player
So
disputes.
you technically
They
did
can
not
eject
call it
players and
after.
will only make
So it'll be
rulings on
coming in,
infractions called by
stalling
players and
9.
only after the players
Stalling nine.
fail to
but
resolve the dispute.
You have to be.
And this one's going on for a little bit. But we're set.
Well, I heard one of those players say that they were concerned about the team's fast counting, which is pretty self-explanatory. And that would have been a foul on the mark.
Ashley Young lays out and to the end zone, and we have a call prior to that. Back near the red zone.
We have the luxury of having the observers mic'd up. They called a stall.
So you think the fast count's an
Did you-
issue right here?
Stalling 9, stalling 10. It said stalling twice.
Okay. Do you want to come to me? Okay. So really, it was not a stall, so it. Yes.
If the play continued and it was
No, it goes to the. It's a one pass.
So what happened there?
She had it, so
They
it was
ruled
past
no
her body
stall.
and out.
The disc was caught on a spectacular grab near the goal line. They threw to the end zone. Oregon's Rachel Hershey slipped, but the turnover was nullified by the stoppage, and now Oregon takes half.
8th goal of the first half. That means we reach the break. A worthy challenger today in the University of British Columbia, but the favorite Oregon has a 2-goal lead for the first time this afternoon at 8-6.
Oregon will receive to start the second half as well. UBC's all right, but Oregon's tenacity in this first half, their willingness to get dirty and make these types of catches. And that's Bethany Kaler. You know, last year, Nationals were in Cincinnati, Bethany's hometown, and she was injured. She got hurt earlier in the season. She could not play. She was riding around the field on a scooter because her ankle injury didn't allow her to, run around as quickly as she would have liked. This year, obviously, she's healthy and trying to lead Oregon to the promised land again.
All right, their intentions right now are to talk to Coach Balding to get impressions here of the first half. It's been a good one for the Thunderbirds, even though they find themselves down by a score of 8-6 against a Fugue team that Jesse Schaffner has stepped to the plate and led here in this first half. All right, I think we're about set. Coach Balding stepping in. Coach, welcome to the broadcast position, and your team, good strike offense in the first half, down now by 2 goals.
Yeah.
What impressed you in the first half?
Oh, I think we're playing great as a team. We're really working hard and working together, connecting on things we need to connect on and making big plays.
Coach, did you expect to use the deep game in the first half as much as you did?
Absolutely. That's absolutely going to be key for us winning. We're fast. We have the throws. We need to use it.
Defensively, what do you try to do to stop them, especially Schaffner?
You can't stop Schaffner. All you can do is hope to contain her enough. So what we try to do is make sure we get speed on her. Speed on speed is kind of the best we can do. So we're just going to keep with speed on speed matchups and try to cover the people around her so that she can't get rid of it right away.
I imagine it'll be a pretty positive halftime discussion with your team.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're playing great.
And any effects without Mara Donaldson today on your team?
Nah, it's great. We're playing great.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
8-6 is our score at halftime in favor of Oregon. Let's step aside. And when we come back before the start of the second half, we'll talk to the other side and Coach Lou Burris. Good first national semifinal on E3. Welcome back. Jim Barber, Evan Lepler, who played at Wake Forest and starred with Wake Forest. Oregon here leading British Columbia 8-6. We're at the break of the first national women's semifinals. So what might be going on in the huddle here in your opinion?
Well, I think, you know, UBC feels pretty good about where they are. Tasia Balding said they're going to be very positive. You know, they're playing well without their star, but they are lacking their star, Mira Donaldson. Other players have stepped up. So it's a positive conversation, but they do need to tweak a few things to try to prevent Jessie Schaffner from always coming up with a disc in power position.
Eleanor Young very active in the victory over University of Virginia in the quarterfinals. Now we take a look of action here in the national semifinals, and Oregon scoring and scoring quickly.
Yeah, Jessie Schaffner has just made spectacular plays. I mean, that's what she does. Even more so than ever, she's always been solid and had the ability, but now she makes these spectacular plays seem routine. And I think that's the measure of greatness.
And you got to find her out there in the hands of Olivia Bartroff and then Lillian Weaver, and Weaver has a couple assists in the first half. Just look how quickly the disc moves, and there's Schaffner.
Both these teams are in the semifinals in large part because of their superior disc skills. Been impressed with both teams, but that was a great poach D, and eventually Schaffner is going to be discovered in the end zone. That time the goal went to Alex Odie. Now UBC was able to get in the way from time to time, and the UBC deep game led by Victoria McCann was really special.
Now you think about where this team will be without McCann's great layouts and grabs in the first half.
The hustle from Morcilla, Naomi Morcilla in her first year at British Columbia, making an impact in the national semifinals.
Back to Schaffner, who already seems to be at the height of any great play. You saw her moments ago lay out.
You know, it's hard to say like who's the top Oregon women's player of this era, because there have been so many. A couple of years ago, Bailey Zahnizer led the team. Last year, it was Sophie Darch's team. And even though Bethany Kaler's the Callahan nominee, you get the sense from watching them play that more than anything, Schaffner is the engine.
Bethany Kaler rounds out the first half scoring, Evan, to make it 8-6. In the first half for British Columbia, Wong with 2 goals, McCann with 2. Chang and Morcilla have scored as well, as Victoria Lamb has backed them up with 2 assists. For Fugue, Schaffner with 3 scores, Galvin, Hershey, Odie, Bartroff, and Kaler have all scored. They really have spread the wealth there in the first half.
And ultimate stats can be deceptive. Walroos's name not on that screen, but she's been invaluable through the first 14 scores.
Yeah, well said. We're coming up on the second half momentarily later today. Carleton College and Stafford live on ESPN3. Head coach Lou Burris joins us before the start of the second half. And coach, what was the message to your Oregon team at halftime?
You know, this game is going to be about energy, and it's going to be a defensive battle the whole way. And so it's just keeping our energy up and keep pushing and fighting and struggling with them, and just keep the pressure on them.
Coach, it's been impressive how you've defended the unders, but they have beaten you deep a few times. Do you alter what you're doing defensively?
No, I don't think so. I mean, you know, I'm happy to have them throw jump balls against Beth and Alex. They just happen to get some of them. They're good. They won't get them all.
Coach, Oregon in its 7th straight semifinal. Aside from talent, what's the key to the culture that allows you guys to be successful?
Giving responsibility to the players, both as players and leaders, to take care of themselves and work to making themselves great. You know, so it's about showing people a path to greatness and letting them walk it.
Lou, thank you, by the way. Great tie. I'm sure we're not the first ones to tell you that today.
Thank you.
Oregon 8, British Columbia 6. As we get set to start the second half, we'll have the opening poll of the second half upon our return. The Oregon Fugue will receive the disc to start the second half, leading by its biggest separation this game in 2 goals, 8-6. Jim Barber and the voice of Ultimate, Evan Lepler. By the way, do you like that identification? Because I have a lot of pull in the truck. We can change that.
It's very flattering. So I don't like to refer to myself as that, but when people say that, it's pretty cool.
Then we'll continue to do it. Oregon in the green uniforms trying to reach the championship game.
Oregon was preparing for this point with a little goal line dance party as we got ready for the second half. Something that's not all that uncommon to the women's ultimate game.
They handle pressure well, don't they?
At halftime of a pre-quarters game yesterday. Florida State was down maybe 8-5. They didn't look too concerned, though. They were getting jiggy with it under their tent.
With the turnover, opportunity for the University of British Columbia to break here to start the second half, trailing 8-6. This game was tied on 5 separate occasions in the first half. We have seen this a lot. They get the disc and then they turn it back over. Here comes Fugue. Alex Odie leading toward the red zone, trying to get their first 3-goal lead of the game. Haley Walrus, who had a key assist in the first half, handling right now for Oregon.
The strength from Walrus to pull that swing down and then just to deliver it on a dime. She's just a sophomore.
It is now 9-6 on the dime by Olivia Bartroff. And for the first time today, you start to wonder about how long can British Columbia hang in there without Mira Donaldson.
It's a reasonable point because Oregon's going to keep coming. That's how they've done it all throughout their dynasty. There was a cool presentation at halftime of this game, a $25,000 check awarded from the Pufall Farraker Spirit Foundation to USA Ultimate Foundation in support of the Girls Ultimate movement, and also to permanently endow the Pufall and Farraker Spirit Awards that go to the top spirited players in the men's and women's club game, sort of the Callahans of club. And we're joined by Brian Murphy, a USA Ultimate Hall of Famer and currently secretary of the Pufall Farraker Spirit Foundation. What was that like for you to be down on the field at halftime?
Oh, it was quite an exciting moment. I'm really happy to represent the foundation on this gift, and it was great to get some recognition from the crowd. I think they were pretty happy about the donation.
Brian, I was watching you up here in the booth. You're a pretty calm guy. Was it that way when you play?
I like to think so. I like to believe that's the way it was. I've been less of the super athlete and more of the brainy athlete.
I got you.
When did you start playing Ultimate?
The mid-'70s, which is to say before most of the people listening to this broadcast were born.
Before most people anywhere knew what Ultimate was. How'd you discover the sport?
I played with the, let's see, it would be kind of the first generation of Ultimate inventors was just about finishing college when I picked up the sport in the mid-'70s. And still knew a couple of those guys playing for teams like Rutgers and Glassboro State. And I played for Bucknell University, which is one of those early powerhouses.
We saw moments ago Judith Yeo with a good breakup in the red zone as British Columbia thwarts what could have been Oregon's 10th goal.
And the precision on that flick from Victoria Lamb to squeeze that outside in over the cup, but not with too much loft. Basically a 4-person cup defense here from Oregon. And UBC's doing a pretty nice job moving the disc downfield.
Brian Murphy, secretary of the Pufall Farraker Spirit Foundation and a Hall of Famer, visiting up with us in the booth. What did you think of the first half here between these two?
Pretty exciting play. I have to say I did not see much in the way of unforced errors at all, despite some somewhat chancy conditions with handling the disc. There were very few turnovers, unforced errors by either team.
Yeah, we've only seen one in the second half. Victoria Lamb handling the disc moments ago on a drop. Right now they've got control and trying to find their way back, trailing 9-6.
As someone who's seen this game played in its infancy, what strikes you the most about the way the game is played on the field today in 2015?
Well, I'd say two things in particular. The athleticism of the players is really spectacular nowadays. And I think the other big difference between the game in my day and the game today is the coaching. We were really, not only was there nobody who was qualified to be a coach, but we didn't want any coaches back then. And I think that's really changed. And I think the coaching makes a huge difference on the level of play that you see today.
McCann's throw to the other side is out of bounds and back to Oregon. So here in the second half, British Columbia is struggling a bit, I think, Evan, to get its offense going.
That's a dangerous throw. Would have been spectacular, but a high level of difficulty, and Oregon takes a timeout. Brian, I want to ask you, the $25,000 gift, what does that go to? The girls' ultimate movement, why is that an important thing for you to support?
Well, we had originally negotiated with USA Ultimate to permanently endow the Spirit Awards for Peter Farricker and Kathy Pufall with a $12,000 donation. And as time went on, we had really kind of struggled with what did we want to do for Kathy. We had been donating money to ALS, which is the disease that took my friend Peter Farricker some years ago, but we never really found anything that was quite right for Kathy. And when GUM came up, it was pretty much a no-brainer. The board took a vote, and it wasn't a whole lot of discussion about it. It was just what Kathy would have liked.
Evan says you like the way the game has progressed. Let's look ahead to 10 years from now. What will Ultimate look like?
Well, with any luck, you'll be seeing him in the Olympics in Boston in, what is that, 2020, I think.
That is a wonderful wishful thinking, by the way.
Being from Boston, I'm not sure how well that city would handle the Olympics, but it's exciting to think about.
Brian Murphy visiting with us here in this second half that has seen just one goal scored as Oregon has bumped its halftime advantage to 3 at 9-6. Ducks in the green, and the white uniforms belong to the lower-seeded British Columbia Thunderbirds. And this one is headed back to
That was basically a punt there from Oregon, just to give up possession downfield rather than getting trapped on the sideline and UBC getting a chance near the end zone. Now the Thunderbirds forced to go against a tough Oregon zone defense, and it leads to another giveaway.
Yeah, in the first half, we didn't see many of those giveaways, did we?
Yeah, it was a very cleanly played first half from both sides.
Bethany Kaler handling the disc right now for Oregon. Good grab by Ashley Young, and now in the hands of Caitlin Brunick. Leading for Brunick and broken up.
Pretty good hustle D there by McCann. I'm sure she needed a layout because I think she could have gotten there first regardless, but why take any chances? It's a great day to lay out.
15 degrees cooler than it was yesterday. The sun is gone. And right for now, for the moment, the rain is gone. Over the defender. McCann shoots one down the field and a chance to score. Great catch, and they score.
Kaylin Chang. She didn't have position, but she had the want to. It started with a hammer, and this catch, not easy from Lisa Wong. Into the hands of the Hucker. And it looked like Kaler had it sized up. Not too many opponents do this to Bethany Kaler. She got a fingertip on the disc, but two hands from Kaylin Chang, the sophomore nursing major at UBC.
Brings the Thunderbirds back to within 9-7. Brian, before we let you go, we've already asked you about the present day of the sport and the future of the sport. What's your greatest memory as we go back to your past?
Well, there's quite a few, but I'm going to pick my first world championship in Sweden with the Rude Boys, and Peter there in attendance. It was the first world championships for Ultimate, and it was really pretty exciting. We actually played a little scrimmage game, feature game against the Swedish national team in the soccer stadium at Göteborg. And probably 70,000 people in the stands for that. That was pretty fun.
We do appreciate your time up here, and it's great getting a chance to visit with you.
My pleasure. Doing a great job, guys.
All right, thanks. Brian Murphy, our special guest. 9-7 our score. Back to the live action, and British Columbia's not going away. Not yet, anyway.
The bottom line is eventually they're going to need to get a few breaks. So far, Oregon has avoided the unforced turnovers that could plague them. They've been pretty smooth, pretty crisp.
Haley Walrus handling. Jesse Schaffner in the first half had 3 goals and an assist. Batted away to the end zone and back in the possession of British Columbia.
And sometimes they try to tell me that Ultimate's a non-contact sport.
Oh,
I think
no way.
this types of play proves otherwise. The deflection and then the sandwich. You ever had a duck sandwich?
No, I haven't. Maybe we can ask young Cassie Swafford about that, huh?
She's been involved with some skirmishes with the ladies of Oregon.
See, now is our
Come
special.
out all right.
Yeah, now our special guest up in our broadcast position, Jim Barber and Evan Lepler. Good to see you today. I know that Evan caught you in conversation with one of the stars of the Fugue yesterday.
Yeah, talking to Beth Kaler.
What was that all about?
Oh, we're just good friends from Ohio. We played against each other in high school, so known each other a long time and really support each other as much as possible.
Player of the Year last year you were, and you broke up that Northwestern dominance of what a decade or so of championships there. What do you remember the most?
You know, just working our hardest, playing to our fullest potential. You know, it's tough going into a game with such a strong program. Going against Oregon, they've got such good culture, and they've just been so successful over the years. So it's just a mental challenge to compete with a team like them.
A year removed from your championship, you've got a lot of perspective on both of these teams. What have you seen in this game as UBC shoots a beauty deep, but just a little too far?
Yeah, you know, it's been really clean the first half, and they just, I mean, unbelievable grabs from both sides. Just, I mean, it's just been great ultimate. It's been a real joy to watch it.
I take it when you watch number 2 of Oregon, Jessie Schaffner, nothing surprises you, correct?
Oh, no. I mean, she is having a phenomenal game. I haven't gotten to watch her much this year other than today, so she's just, the way that she moves across the field it's, you know, incredible.
Schaffner with a great catch and the great flick all the way down. Can they score with it? Yes! Wow! How quickly did that happen?
And that's how Oregon likes to play. The quick strike attack, and Rachel Hershey in the end zone for Fugue. The entire possession, don't blink, you might miss it. 2 quick throws, and Walrus sets up Schaffner again, and again, she doesn't look like Cassie Swafford. You're what, 5'10", 5'11"? She's 5'2", 5'3". It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
In this sport, you can be all different sizes, and the throw was right on target.
Yeah, she can compete with people a foot taller than her. That's the kind of impact that she has.
You feel comfortable telling us which team you think is the best here?
I don't know. They both are. I think Oregon's got a little bit of momentum right now, but both teams have been playing pretty well and making huge plays on both sides of the disc. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out.
As someone who toppled Oregon a year ago, what was the key last year, and what do you think British Columbia or either Carleton or Stanford can do to try to knock Fugue off?
I think just treating it like any other game and not getting too concerned about it being Oregon, the powerhouse. You know, I think you need to focus internally and just trust that trust your system and that the work you put in over the year will work for you.
A little different approach on the pull to start this sequence, no, Evan?
Trying to change it up, force them to start from the sideline, but I've been very impressed with the simple fundamentals that UBC has possessed in the handler core, and the ability to swing the disc confidently, comfortably, and then strike down the field.
Victoria McCann has had a handle on some of the scoring in the first half. She's number 47. 21, Eleanor Young. And the score to bring them back within 2.
BC doing what they can to keep it close, still very much within striking distance. You know, the 2015 Callahan Awards will be bestowed later today. What does one do with their Callahan Award after they win it?
With the trophy itself, it's at my parents' house. I don't know. I mean, it's a huge honor, and it opens up actually a lot of opportunities. So a lot of coaching opportunities and things like that. So it's, you know, it kind of goes past just the award itself.
What's the coolest thing that you've gotten to do? Where have you been able to go?
I'm coaching at Cut Camp this summer in Raleigh, North Carolina. So I'll get to do that, and you know, those are just some opportunities that you're not sure you'll have otherwise. So
you played mixed club at nationals last year with a team out of Ohio. This year you'll be back in the women's scene with the Raleigh, North Carolina team, Phoenix.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting back to women's ultimate, especially after a year off.
I have to ask you, you know, Jimmy went all the way across the country just to be in our broadcast booth today. No, I think it was to see his former school, and he's behind you right now, so we have lots of Callahan royalty here. What about somebody who takes a red eye to come see his team play? What do you think?
I think that's great. I mean, it just shows how much, you know, he's willing to support his team, and it shows that, you know, how much he cares, and that's a pretty good, you know, it shows he's like that he really, you know, he loves his team, which is great.
What do you miss about this game?
I think I miss just getting out there and working hard and playing with my best friends. But, you know, everyone has their time.
And you certainly made the most of your time, as is Oregon right now, scoring with the disc. Number 27, Haley Walrus, as they get closer to closing out British Columbia. It's 11-8.
That is an emphatic spike that you typically see from the Oregon men's team, but they love to celebrate in Eugene. They've had a lot of reasons to do so in the ultimate field in recent years. And Haley Walrus, the emphatic exclamation point to that goal. We talk about great leaders in ultimate, especially women's ultimate. And your college coach, Deanna Ball, certainly is in the conversation, a former Pufall Award winner during her playing days. You've created some distance now from being around her on an everyday basis. When you look back on that relationship, you know, coach with player, what was that like, and how would you describe her as a coach?
Oh, I mean, she's so much more than a coach. She's a mentor, a teacher, a friend. You know, we're not around each other all the time anymore, but we stay in pretty close contact and talk a lot about Fever and women's ultimate in general. So she's just an incredible leader for the sport, and someone who I look up to quite a bit.
Cassie Swafford, our special guest. We're going to let you go here in a matter of moments, but
before we do, this morning you were walking around the fields with a camera attached to your head, the Cassie cam.
Oh, I wish we had a picture of that. Huh?
It was a sight to see. What was that like?
It was fun. It was unique. Not quite ESPN, but it's nice to get those games some coverage.
Did you have like folks texting you, telling you to walk in certain directions?
Yeah. I got a couple texts that there's raindrops on the camera, and you know, the camera was crooked, but
the magic of technology. When Brian Murphy, the secretary of the Pufall Farraker Spirit Foundation, was playing, they didn't have Cassie cams walking around nationals.
No, social media has been bumped up just a bit, hasn't it? Yeah. Hey, a real honor to talk with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Cassie Swafford, our special guest. We've had all type of the sports celebrities here. Jim Barber and Evan Lepler, the voice of Ultimate, in an 11-8 game here in the second half. Oregon has never trailed in this game, except for one time at 5-4. After that, the Fugue scored twice to lead 6-5, bumped the lead to 2 at the break, and it is now 3 as we speak, and they have the disc. Get the impression here that they could deliver a knockout punch with a score.
You really do. That's so close to being an incredible catch from Ofterheide. Yeah, this is a very important point here. 12-8, game to 15. That's a tough mountain to climb.
But how many times have we seen in this game, Evan, where after an Oregon turnover, British Columbia immediately turns it back?
That's why Oregon is never afraid to give it away themselves. They take their chances. They're confident in their ability to get the disc back. They play big. This looks like a contested foul.
Bethany Kaler is at midfield.
My ruling is you were in her disc space, it is a foul. Comes back on one because it occurred before the throw.
So Kaler back with the disc in her hands.
Let's get it started, ladies.
4 observers on hand to watch and regulate the game. Oregon trying to go up by 4 scores and able to do so. What a play by Ella Hansen.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, and that is infuriating for a defender. You read it perfectly. You got your hand on the disc. You knocked it away, but not far enough. Odie. She wanted a little more outside-in angle on that throw. And you win championships over and over again. Sometimes you benefit from some good fortune.
This now is Fugue's biggest advantage of the game at 4. Figuring in half of the goals today has been Jessie Schaffner, who scored 3 times and also had 3 assists. But they are getting everybody equally involved beyond that and now have stretched the margin.
Jessie Schaffner, we talked about her at the top. The timing on her cuts is beautiful. There was no mark on Walrus. Made that a little more difficult than necessary, but Jessie Schaffner's up for the tough play. Getting horizontal for the score there. And then the handler movement. Give and go and launch. A sort of a layout release into the hands of Rachel Hershey. And then the poach D. Just great field awareness. Oregon wanted to get it back to Schaffner and said the payoff goes to Odie. And then laying out on the underneath. It's hard to explain just how tough a catch that is to secure possession when you're also crashing into the ground. I mean, she can come underneath, she can go deep, she can throw, she's got the hands to lay out. And if she makes a slight error in judgment on the misread, she can make amends really fast. This might be the longest individual highlight package we've ever had of a player, but it's worth it.
I would say.
It's all deserved attention.
Jessie Schaffner, who has played huge today in her team's 12-8 advantage, and Oregon winning championships in 2010 and 2013 is 3 scores away from playing for another national title Monday here on the ESPN networks.
It was amazing last year when she got injured in the semifinal game and ended up coming back the next day. It was a scary moment when she got hurt. Offsides was called here, I believe, on Oregon. Just a warning right now.
If you're just joining us, first half belonged to Oregon after a tightly contested first 30 to 45 minutes of play. 8-6 at the break. Oregon with a larger advantage in the second half. Schaffner has again figured in 6 of the 12 goals, and Chang has scored 3 times for UBC.
Folks in Eugene are enjoying this game, and the Schaffner fan club in the Music City of Tennessee is enjoying it as well.
This game got a starting time early in the Northwest. Started 1 o'clock in the East, 12 Central, and 10 o'clock. The winner faces Carleton or Stanford for the national championship tomorrow.
What a play by Bethany Kaler. And we've spent so much time talking about Schaffner, I feel like we've shortchanged Kaler. And she is just as much the heartbeat of what Fugue is all about.
And Oregon back on offense again, a chance to move to its 13th score of the game. We're tied at a single goal, tied at 2, 3, and 4.
So close, but through the hands of Kaler there.
2 defenders on Kaler as the disc heads back in the hands of British Columbia. How do you make up a 4-goal deficit against arguably one of the best teams in college play?
Well, if we're being perfectly honest, you probably can't. But you can try, and it's 1 goal at a time. You know, turnovers can happen quickly in this game. You could argue Oregon hasn't made very many mistakes, so maybe they're due, but we're also a perennial semifinalist for very good reason.
You see the Fugue changing defenses here. The deep threat working for the 3rd time today. That was how BC scored in the first half, and Terrence Chan reaches up and makes the catch, and there's your 1 goal at a time philosophy as UBC down by 3 now.
In regards to your defensive question, you know, Lou Burris said at halftime, we want to continue to pressure the underneath like they've been doing, and they were doing a great job. Sometimes that means you get burned deep, and this is just a spectacular throw from Eleanor Young to a reliable target in Chan. But for the most part, as Lou Burris said, we want those 50-50 shots. We like our athletes. We're not intimidated to try to defend that deep game.
Ellen now with 3 assists on the game, and her team back within 3 goals at 12-9.
It's hard to believe, Young, just a freshman from Richmond, British Columbia, 18 years old.
BC, pretty part of the world, certainly.
And, you know, it's a moot point, but it would have been fun to watch British Columbia with Mira Donaldson play Oregon in this game. She just provides this whole different dynamic. She's got size at 5'9" to go up for the disc, and while she's a premier thrower, they were using Donaldson primarily as an initiation cutter and then looking long more often than not.
Should we, Evan, be surprised that the Thunderbirds have competed as well as they have without Donaldson?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. You know, I think we're learning that they're not just a 1-gal team, and we knew that, but you never know in a situation like this. But Oregon's just on point. I mean, in order to knock off the #1 seed, more than likely you need that #1 seed to not play its best game. And it's hard to really point to any flaws in Oregon's game plan or execution throughout the last hour and a half.
Let's go back to the entire possession at real speed. Number 9, Olivia Bartroff will get the goal. That's Jessie Schaffner over to Haley Walrus, and just the way they control the disc, especially here with a chance to go in for the kill, and then capped off by the 3rd goal of the game for Miss Bartroff.
Yeah, Bartroff, very underrated. Grew up in Portland. A very steady, solid player for Fugue. Her 3rd year with the program. And it really is a program. That's why I asked Lou Burris about the culture at halftime, because across college ultimate, club ultimate, whatever level, a team's talent can only take you so far. It's about building that culture of winning and teamwork. And I think you talk to any Callahan Award winner, national champion, high-level coach, and they'll talk to you that culture is probably more important than talent.
This team, Evan, has been very dominant here, as you saw by the numbers, and with a 15-6 win today in the quarterfinals over Dartmouth.
And for Oregon, it's, you know, about assigning responsibility to young players, you know, to make them take ownership of a certain task. For example, Oregon divides practice responsibilities and traveling administration responsibilities. They're just little things that, even if you're not a big contributor on the field, you can have an area that is your responsibility, and that makes you feel like a part of the team. And that's why you go down the roster. Ella Hansen, another first-year player, and she's making plays here in the national semifinals.
Yeah, it looked like an easy score for British Columbia deep in the red zone. Instead, disc back to Oregon, 2 goals away from reaching the championship game. Ahead to Alex Odie, who scored in the first half. And look at this. What a great throw from Ella Hansen. And Gué scores, and Oregon now is on the cusp of reaching the finals. So Gué with the score, and it is now 14-9, and that is the biggest edge that Oregon has had.
The smiles on the Fugue faces say it all. It begins with a D from Hansen. He's been the deep in Oregon zone and confidently picks up the disc and initiates play. He's got such length. Easy break across field for Kaler. Back in a power position. And look at the balance on that release. Nice and easy, plenty of float. She had a lot of space to work with. An easy grab for Gué and textbook offense from Fugue. You know, even in a season when Lou Burris has taken a little bit of a step back, they've been much more of a player-led team this year. 2 Oregon alums, assistant coaches, Catherine Weatherhead and Danielle Hirsch. But it's the players, Jim, that really make up the personality of this team. And you know, their fans are used to winning. They're getting a little spoiled.
Oh yeah, that's Leticia Gué's first score of the game. And now a 14-9 edge. Consider this, when British Columbia had its only lead at 5-4, it has been 10-4 since then in favor of Oregon.
That was an exciting moment when UBC took the lead, but you remember, Lou Burris called timeout after that play, and since then, you know, the players on Fugue have such great respect and appreciation. And now, an opportunity for Oregon to close it out. The efficiency of the Fugue offense in this game. I honestly don't remember them being more efficient in any game I've ever seen them. I mean, they've been more explosive with Sophie Darch just airing it out. Their ability to continue to make great catches and make easy catches. And it seems like every throw has been on point. And this is one of the fewest turnover performances I can ever remember from a women's team in a big game like this.
Well, you mentioned being on point. This is game point right here. Disc will go back to British Columbia, so they live to fight another moment.
And the incredible thing is British Columbia has played really clean ultimate too. I mean, if British Columbia played sort of an average game, they would have lost this game 15-5.
Back to Oregon and another game point opportunity. Leading 14-9.
3 different Thunderbirds had a fingertip on the disc there, and it ricocheted off them all like a pinball machine.
So 2 opportunities for Oregon to close the deal. Hasn't happened yet, but it's coming. British Columbia won the regular season matchup, but did it with Mira Donaldson. No Donaldson today, and another turnover off the hands of Taryn Chan, who has scored 3 times today. So here yet another opportunity for Fugue to end the game.
It's now.
And we have a timeout called.
Oregon only lost twice during the regular season. On May 29th, the Northwest Challenge round robin against British Columbia. And at women's regionals, losing early in the tournament to Washington. But able to smash through Whitman and British Columbia on Sunday at that tournament. And here at Nationals, just stampeding through pool play. Oregon over Notre Dame. In a close game, it was 8-7 at half. Then Victoria, Florida State, Central Florida victimized by Fugue. Dartmouth in the quarters. British Columbia, the soon-to-be victim in the semis.
All right, Evan, time for the Discraft Ultra Star play of the game. Wouldn't be any surprise if we included Jessie Schaffner in there, would we?
It would be a shock if we didn't. Haley Walrus so steady in the handler core. Although she threw that one a little far, but Schaffner made her look good.
Yeah, when you're watching it at full speed, you're thinking there's no way she's going to get to that.
You know, Haley Walrus made the play that was on SportsCenter numerous times last year. This is the throw Jesse, I just want to make you look good. I could have given you a nice, easy running clap catch. Instead, get horizontal for me.
That was the motivation.
She was doing her a favor, I think.
I got you.
Anybody can make a routine clap catch.
Oh, absolutely. Another chance for Oregon to end it. They have played nearly a spotless second half. We'll talk with Lou Burris if this game holds up and they're able to close out the deal, which we do anticipate momentarily. Here's the opportunity and game over. Gabrielle Ofter-Heide ends it for Oregon, and the Fugue are headed to the finals. It's quite a second half, Evan.
Yeah, from 6-6, Oregon outscores UBC 9-3 the rest of the way. And UBC just sort of ran out of gas. Oregon's underneath defense was super steady, and Oregon made every tough catch. This is an easy one to close it out. So Oregon back in the championship game again. This is their 7th straight trip to the semis. It'll be their 5th trip to the finals in the last 7 years. Winning titles in 2010 and 2013. Trying to add a 3rd USA Ultimate National Championship to their resume.
So Oregon's win places the Fugue at the finals tomorrow afternoon on ESPN 3 at 1 Eastern to face Carleton College or Stanford. We'll have that game coming up in a little less than 1 hour. Let's take a break. Lou Burris, the head coach of Oregon, expected to join us here on live coverage today of USA Ultimate and the college championships. The 2015 USA Ultimate College Championships are presented by Discraft Ultrastar, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Ask your retailer for Discraft Ultrastar. The Women's Sports Foundation, ensuring equality and leadership opportunities for girls and women through sports. And the Girls Ultimate Movement, a strategic initiative designed to increase girls' participation in the sport of ultimate. Fugue 15, Thunderbirds 9. That means Oregon's in the championship game. We're back to visit with head coach Lou Burris. And Lou, second half in which you outscore your opponent 7-3 and separate from a 2-goal advantage. What was significant in your opinion?
Well, you know, I talked about at half. We just needed to bring pressure and just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And, you know, they started to crumble a little bit. Our offense did a really nice job of making some adjustments on what they were doing defensively, got us some easy goals.
Coach, I talked to you Friday morning about Jessie Schaffner, and you said that she has taken a significant step forward from last year.
Yeah.
In what ways has that transcended your team?
Well, I mean, I think you just watched her play today. She played great. She played great on defense. She played great on offense, and it's just helping it be part of the team leadership, moving us forward.
Any preference about Carleton or Stanford? What do you expect in that matchup?
I always root against Stanford.
Well, you might have to play against them tomorrow. We'll see.
Sure.
We appreciate your time, Lou. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hey, an honest answer. I like that.
Got to appreciate that very much.
And he's got a few ties to Carleton as well. So, in the meantime, Fugue celebrates another victory and a trip to the national championship tomorrow afternoon on ESPN 3. So, some final thoughts from this?
Yeah, I thought Oregon was very impressive, and so is UBC, to be perfectly honest. If Merritt Allinson's healthy, it might be a little bit closer, but this Oregon team just continues to win in big spots. They've got the championship experience and the pedigree.
All right, before we step away, Jessie Schaffner, nice enough to join us today. She scored 3 times. She also had 3 assists. Jessie, let's go back to some of those layouts you had in the first half and what catapulted you to play as well as you did today.
Well, I had a lot of nervous energy before the game, and actually I had to call my brother and like calm down a little bit.
What did Markham tell you?
That it's a gift to be out here. So I really appreciate that we get to play this game.
On one of your open side cuts, Haley had you wide open and instead forced you to lay out. You appreciate the opportunity to make the spectacular play?
Yeah, no, totally. I was standing there waiting for things to get cleaned up a little bit, and Haley just threw it, and we can't get broken right out of the start of the game, so you just got to do what you got to do.
Jesse, last thing, the theory of the eye black. What's that about?
I was actually, it's deceivingly bright out here. I was squinting a lot in warm-ups, channel a little bit of Dylan Freechild and, get to see better.
Jesse, we asked your coach after the game his preference between Carleton and Stanford. He says he always roots against Stanford. All right, now you're on the clock here. What's your thoughts about Game 2 between Stanford and Carleton?
It'd be a pleasure to play either of them. They're two teams that are really rooted in fundamental ultimate, and that is not the case for us. So we love to face up against teams that are not like us. We learn a lot, and we've played them both this season, and we're going to be prepared, ready to play.
In other words, you're more diplomatic than your head coach, right?
Oh, sure.
That was an honest answer. That was a great answer, too. They're in the finals.
He's a Carleton fella at heart. So.
Absolutely. Jesse, thank you. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon.
Thank you.
Congrats, Jesse.
Thank you.
So our final score, once again, 15-9 in favor of Oregon. On to the finals go Fugue. British Columbia ends a terrific season and a great run, really, without one of their key players today, Mira Donaldson, Evan.
And they're such a young team. They'll be back in this spot. I bet on it. They'll be back in the semis, perhaps beyond in the next few years. But Oregon's not done yet. They still got great players, veterans, youth, great coaching. Oregon's the favorite regardless who wins our second semifinal.
All right, that second semifinal is coming up in 45 minutes. We invite you to come on back and join us at 3:30 Eastern Time, 2:30 Central, 12:30 in the Northwest. For Evan Lepler, I'm Jim Barber. So long from Eline Soccer Park in Milwaukee. Final score again, Oregon 15, University of British Columbia 9. To watch this entire game on replay, we invite you to watch and log on to watchespn.com or download the Watch ESPN app. Thanks, everybody, for watching. This has been a presentation of ESPN.
Second game.